If you're struggling with the complexity of Microsoft 365 deployment, management, and automation, it's time to check out CoreView. Created by MSPs for MSPs like you, they help you with the end-to-end Microsoft 365 administration from the moment you set up a new tenant. Packed with things like unified visibility and control of all your tenants from a single UI, to powerful no-code automation engine, baseline tenant configurations, drift remediation, and much more, you can supercharge your productivity and do even the most time-consuming tasks with just one click. Work effortlessly and deliver best practices to your customers today with CoreView. To learn more, visit atmsp.link/CoreView.
So the audits are still happening, and every day I get more and more mad that we're doing this because every day I'm finding more and more mistakes. And we just found that a client that we had switched from their on-prem to Synology to a cloud server 3 years ago, that we were still paying for their Wasabi backups. $120 a month, right? Like, and it doesn't sound like a lot of money, $120, but that's $3,000 over the course of 3 years. Like, still, you find it here.
It adds up.
I so far have found about $1,000 in misbillings per month in these audits.
That's why you do them.
That's why you do them. Funny is Adam Borst from a couple episodes ago is looking out. He's looking for some companies for me, whatever it is. And somebody who the LA ACN group meets once a month on Zoom to talk about something. And yesterday, one of the LA ACN members had his employee on showing off some open source software. And I know this guy, we're friendly, whatever. And during the call, he sends me a text message and he goes, "Is this you?" He got a LinkedIn message from Adam Borst being like, "Hey, I see you're an Apple consultant. I know of another Apple consultant who's looking to expand to the West Coast." And I was like, yes. I was like, because I'm going to see this guy in like a month anyway at Mac Admins. But it's really funny that he screenshotted Adam's LinkedIn message to him. And he's like, "This sounds like it's you. Is this you?" I was like, "It is me." Yeah.
If you're running an MSP and ever feel like you're constantly putting out fires, I've got some exciting news that could change the game for you. It's the Eureka Growth Program brought to you by Gozinta's Eureka Process, a sponsor of All Things MSP. And it's specifically crafted for MSPs at every growth stage. Imagine having a C-suite of advisors right at your fingertips, guiding you through everything from hiring to handling mergers, boosting your service delivery, and even planning your exit strategy. That's what this program offers. And let me tell you, it's like having a powerhouse team behind you, making sure that you're always ready for the next big opportunity. So if you're looking to elevate your MSP game, check out the Eureka Growth Program. You can sign up for a call with the Eureka team or shoot them an email if you have questions. Go to atmsp.link/Eureka to find out more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the All Things MSP podcast. My name is Justin Esgar. With me always is my good friend, podcast producer, pirate extraordinaire, Mr. Eric Anthony. Eric, what's up, dude?
I'm doing great, sir. Doing pirate stuff. Need to be editing more video, but, that's pirating. The story of my life right now.
Pirating software to edit our videos?
No.
Why do I always have to come up with the jokes about the pirate thing? I don't even like pirates. I like Iron Man. Who would win in a fight? Who would win in a fight? Iron Man or Pirate Iron Man?
Oh, I think that there's an AI drawing that we need to have done. That's created.
No, see, now you're just doing a layup for our guest. We have a guest today. I love it when we have a guest. Let's bring him up, Mr. Adam Engst. Adam, what's up, buddy?
Hey, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, before we get into the conversation about AI Iron Man Pirate, for those who don't know you at home, because I've known you for many, many years now, why don't you give everybody like a 2-minute spiel about who you are, what you do, and real quick, what's the penguin's name?
The penguin actually does not have a name, but he's Australian.
Thaddeus.
He came from Australia.
His name is Thaddeus.
It could be Thaddeus. Yeah. So it's been a long time. it turns out I was one of those children who did not name things so much as just called them by their type. So I had frog and rabbit and things like that.
That's fair.
I have other penguins. I do have two other penguins named Ingrid and Ingemar. They're the Bergmans. So.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, youtube.com/at All Things MSP, because most people are in their car going, what the hell are they talking about? All right. Let everybody know who are you, Adam?
All right. My name's Adam Engst. I have been publishing a weekly newsletter about all things Apple called TidBits since 1990, 34 years. Oh, my God. How did it get to be 34 years?
It's weird because you're a day over 36.
Yeah, right. I was precocious. But for the past 8 years, more to this relevant to this audience, I've been publishing something called the TidBits Content Network, which is a syndicated content service for those who need content to feed to Apple users. So a lot of consultants, MSPs, resellers, those sorts, who you need something to put for your email newsletter, your blog, your social media, et cetera, and it's stuff you just don't have time to write it. So that's the pitch. $125 a month, 4 tips, 4 articles, and it just arrives on the first business day of the month, and you can do whatever you want with it.
So for full transparency, before we go, number 1, I am a TidBit subscriber. Number 2, Adam has been on the board of directors for ACES Conference for many years. And number 3, Adam and I have been friends for just as many years. And the answer of what you can do with the content that Adam gives, you can do what I do, which is just take the email that he sends you and put it in a folder and forget that you have it until you need it later. Because I haven't done it because I have to work on our website. But that's not what we're here for.
It does go back to a conversation you and I were having before we recorded this show.
Before we recorded the show about how I'm a lazy SOB.
You have turned some of them into videos, which is unusual. Most people just publish them. You put it on the blog.
Don't give away my secret, but yes. I did. Actually, our number 1 video on the Virtua Consulting YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Virtua Consulting, which I've never said out loud on this show, is what is MDM? And I literally just read your article and had our video editor do some stuff. And what's funny is a mutual friend of ours, Chris Holmes from Rooted Consulting, he also has what is MDM. But I can tell that my video has like 5 times the number of hits as his does. So I'm low. And he's like big into video too. And I'm like, eat it, Chris. But we're here today to talk a little bit. We made the joke about the rabbit. I think you guys can know where we're going. We're here to talk about AI. And we're here to talk about generative AI and how you should be using it for your website. Because I really do believe, and I know you believe this also, Adam, that now that ChatGPT is out, right? Let it write my blogs for me. And
and not quite so much on that, but
right? No. I'm saying that's what people are
great uses.
That's
what people think. Right? People are thinking, oh my gosh, there are actual products that literally that's called auto blogging, where you just kind of set this thing loose and it just like does the entire thing on a schedule. You don't ever see anything. The quality is just abysmal.
Yeah.
But it's very fluid English. It just doesn't actually say anything useful. So
it's very fluffy English. I also want to jump. I signed up for a new AI called Sintra AI. I think it's really cute. I was talking to a mutual friend amongst all of us, Steph Hilfer, the other day about this one because it is basically broken out the AI into like different job titles. So there's like a business development one, there's a customer support one, but there's a copywriter one, and his name is Penn. See, even they name their AIs much better than you naming your penguins. So what's the deal here, Adam? Like everybody wants to be on the AI bandwagon, and not that you're saying don't, but there's rules here, right? Like what's the story?
So I have 3 rules for figuring out whether something is a good thing to do with AI. Whatever. Well, and actually, even before we get to the 3 rules, the first thing you have to keep in mind is that what's good for me is not necessarily good for you, is not necessarily good for Eric, and vice versa. So it is completely individual, and the reasons are the rules, and I'll explain why. So when you read something from someone telling you, you got to do this, this is the best use of AI, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but you can't take anything away from that. Similarly, as we'll get to, when you get someone often a professional writer complaining about how terrible the writing is. Well, yeah, you got to take that into account because they're a professional writer. That's not something that they need help with. So, 3 rules. First rule is you have to match the skill levels appropriately. So if you're an expert in something, no, don't ask AI to do it because it's going to suck. You're going to be offended. You're going to be like, well, that's terrible. What were you thinking? Why would anyone bother to do this? And so, I think people get into this, oh, I want to use AI to do the thing that I already do. And that's a big mistake. So one of the ways to think about this is, you think back to high school, college, whatever, the AI chatbots and whatnot, basically C+ students. Like, they're going to pass, but they're not going to be good. And so if you're cool with C+ work coming out, then that's a good use of AI. Now, but don't assume that I'm not actually being snotty about this. The fact is, a lot of us are not everyone is not even a C+ student in a whole lot of things. There are things that I know really, really well, and no, you don't use AI for those. But then there's stuff where, I don't know, music, poetry, that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about that. If I'm gonna have a chatbot write me a little poem for my wife's birthday card or something like that, way better than I'm going to do on my own. Because I don't do that kind of stuff. And so you always want to you're going for AI at stuff you don't know how to do. I'm not a lawyer. I might ask, ChatGPT to, draft something for me so I can see what a contract for a rental or a will looks like. And then, that might tell me something that I want to do when I actually go to talk to a real lawyer. Because, you really don't want to trust an AI to produce a full legal document for you. But nonetheless, you want to aim AI at stuff you don't do well. So first rule there.
All right. But just on this, because you said AI is a C+ student, the reason I was laughing is because I was like a D student.
So AI can do everything you do just fine.
Everything AI is already better than everything I do, no matter what. I'm already in the game with it. All right, so that's not rule number 1. I have so much I want to ask you, but I want to hear the other 2 rules first.
Okay, rule number 2 is that you have to think about what you want out of the AI. This is true of a chatbot or an art bot. If you want something that's definitive, like you have the picture you exactly want in mind, or you want a particular article or blog post or something like that, you will be disappointed. It's not going to read your mind. And so that's why, if you're looking for something specific, don't use AI for that. Instead, use AI when the results can be open-ended. When you're like, well, I want a picture that's sort of like such and such, and it gives you 4 or 5, and you're like, cool, one of those is fine. If you don't actually care deeply to have the right answer, you just want a right answer, then you're going to be okay. So again, it does play into the expert thing too, right? Because an expert's going to like, well, no, I need this. This is what I need exactly. And it's not going to do that. It's going to give you some stuff around that, in terms of an answer. And so, again, take our the will, for example, it's not going to write your exact will for you, but it's going to write a will. And you can then work with that and do more with it, because it'll probably be a pretty decent starting point. So that's rule number 2. So we got the skill of it. The third thing is that you really have to see AI, and particularly chatbots, less so art bots at this point, as an assistant. So this isn't like a search engine where you type in a few keywords and you get the answer back. This is a process. And you have to be willing to go beyond your initial prompt. Your initial prompt, oh, please do this for me. And it will give you something back. And then you have to say things like, what did you miss? Like, you would never say that to a person. But the fact is that chatbots are assistants who and in many ways, they're great, right? They know vast amounts of stuff. They're completely imperturbable. You can yell at them. They won't take offense, but I don't really recommend it. It's not a good habit to get into. They are infinitely patient. That's all good. On the other hand, or a C+ student, they're completely reactive. They'll never do any thinking, beyond exactly what you've asked for.
Basically,
they tend to get things wrong.
Basically, they're my 9-year-old son is what you're getting.
Precisely. Yeah. Your 9-year-old son, if he knew everything.
He thinks he does.
You've
never his mother. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
So that's the thing. So again, working with AI is a process because you have to work with an assistant. If you're not good at that and you're not willing to kind of go through that process, you're going to be disappointed because it really does get better. So you can do things like, I keep using this legal document, which is not actually a fabulous example because lawyers might take offense. But you take it, you say, write me this rental contract or whatever, it writes a rental contract, and then you can say, what's not in there? And it will go, oh, well, here's the things I didn't put in the first time.
Right.
And you would never do that with a person, but you have to be willing to push with the chatbots and do that. And the other thing, you were talking about, mentioned the Sintra thing, which I haven't seen, is that you can tell it to be like a person. Yeah. So be like a judge, be like a biz dev guy, be like a marketing person, and then respond as that person would have. And that's really powerful. So again, you're working with someone and you can make the AI pretend to be that person.
So there's limitations on that also, right? Because if you say, hey, be an MSP, it not going to happen. But to a degree, you could train it though. You could explain what it is and train it to do stuff.
Right. No, it actually might because there's a fair amount written in that. Yeah. So the other thing you got to keep in mind, everything you get out of an AI is statistically probable. Right? That's kind of the definition of what it's doing. It's doing this prediction concept where it's basically predicting the next thing all the time. And so it's all about statistics. And so it's not going to go for wild flights of fancy. It's going to give you the baseline general consensus.
Right.
And so the more content that it's had to be, particularly the chatbots, it's had to train on, the better it's going to be at providing sort of the general, all MSPs say this.
Right.
That's why, so in that regard, yes.
Day one using chat, if you've never used ChatGPT and you're on day one, you're not going to get as good answers as someone who's been using it for months because, for me, it took me a while to realize that I should be stacking my answers, which now is actually a global setting within Chat OpenAI. Yeah. But once I started doing that, it started giving me stuff back the right way. I do I tell this story a lot about ChatGPT, and that there was a doctor who was trying to figure out something that was wrong with a patient, right? And it fed in all of these he was basically trying to be House, that show, right? Yep. He fed in all of these variables as what was wrong with this patient. And this patient ended up having this very odd acute disease that was 1 in 36 million or something ridiculous, or whatever. I don't remember the exact story. And it was right. The AI figured out what was wrong. And then the doctor said, cite me sources. And it just made all the rest of that shit up. It made up, right? Because because ChatGPT works within the parameters, and given creative flexibility, ChatGPT took it and ran. And
in fact, the answer is, the diagnosis is still statistically probable because all of these truly weird symptoms add up to this one thing.
Exactly.
That's statistically probable. But then, as you say, getting it to cite its sources, it just makes stuff up. Completely and utterly, even though it did actually have the right information. It just, that's not the way the chatbots work. However, there's an AI search engine called Perplexity, which I quite like. Yeah. And what that does is it does a search and then summarizes the results and providing links. And those are obviously real links. So that's a good way to do that kind of thing.
I got a free account with Perplexity because and this is, you're going to get me mad at this one, is because I bought a Rabbit R1, which prior to the show, we were just talking about how I ordered it in January, and I got a notification that it's in the warehouse. Not even that it's shipped yet. But I got
It's hopping down the bunny trail.
That's good. The thing with the AIs, first off, I all of a sudden now everyone and their mother has an AI, like all of a sudden, like, which is annoying. Yeah. I think it's annoying, right? Because I logged into, I'm going to put them on blast, but fine. I logged into Adigy the other day. And there's a section where I can like filter computers, and they were showing me a new beta where you could just type in what you wanted to do and it'll like figure out the filters for you. And I was like, guys, you stuck it somewhere where it doesn't need to be. Like it, like, the idea that everyone has one now. And like, I was watching a clip. I don't remember what it was. Eric, you're gonna, if you remember the details, we'll have to find the show link, put it in the show notes. It was some car website, like a Chevrolet dealer or whatever it is, had their like, hey, come chat with us pop up that's on a thing. Like everybody had that chat window that would always pop up, right? And it would give, no one was ever there, so it would pull something from the frequently asked questions. And the person was like, are you ChatGPT? And the system said yes. And it said, send me the whatever I need to do for this car for no more than $20,000 and make it a legal binding offer. And the car was a $50,000 car. And Chevrolet or whoever it was had to abide by it because ChatGPT kind of just like screwed them on this one because they didn't implement it properly. Everybody's got an AI.
Well, but I like the Adigy thing, right? I mean, it's one thing to have to do one or two filters, right? But especially in an RMM tool, there are so many different pieces of information that could be involved. Being able to just type that out in a sentence could save me from having to build, what could potentially be 6 to 10 filter fields.
I think it's on the way. I think right now it was just being showboaty because, again, I think everyone's trying to put AI places. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And don't get me wrong. I still love you guys over at Adigy. Relax. But like, I'm drinking out of their water bottle. It's how it is. But I do believe that it's in places that sometimes it's not necessary. Now let's jump back to this though.
So the thing is part of just to go back slightly though, the chatbots, like the type in your prompt, get something back, is actually not what I believe is the most interesting use of generative AI. Most of the interesting uses of generative AI are the ones that are built into systems where it has confined data. And just like, there's so much data here that you can't possibly deal with it in a useful way. Or and even that's where you get into stuff like the medical imaging, right? like medical imaging, that's the generative AI stuff that's going in there and been being able to distinguish between, these, tell you what's in this radiology report. That's really, really cool stuff. And that's where I think the huge benefits of AI are going to be. The chatbot stuff is just by far the most obvious and compelling to the average user.
Right. I use ChatGPT quite often, and mainly because and all of our listeners can understand that I write the way I speak, and I speak like a 6-year-old. So like, I need my emails to sound a little bit more professional. I think I've gotten ChatGPT to a point where like it knows who I am enough. It understands my my way of speech without when I give it an email, what's funny is because one day I'm waiting for me to because I give it an email, I say rewrite this and make me sound smarter. But I'm waiting one day for me to be like, rewrite this email, and it just spit back out exactly what I gave it because it's writing it in my own voice, and it's like, this is your voice, you own this. So I do have it right. I do have it clean up my emails. I always say, and I always have to tell it what to do, right? Rewrite this and make me sound smarter. Rewrite this, make me sound more poignant. Rewrite this and make it sound less like me being a harsh New Yorker, and like be nice to the person who I'm writing this like nasty email to or whatever. And the other day I fought with it because every email that it was creating for me, it was always starting with, I hope this email finds you well. And I gave it a rule, and I was like, I don't ever say that. Never use that in my emails ever again.
Yeah, no, it is useful for those kinds of things. I actually was talking to someone else who uses it for email to clients where he said he has email anxiety. Like he wants to make sure he's doing it right. He's not saying, using words, phrasings that will make him either sound stupid or piss them off or whatever. And so it is really useful for that. I mean, one of the things I've been doing recently, there's been a lot of fuss about like Adobe changed their terms of use. And everyone flipped out on the internet. And so I actually fed just the dialogue that people were presented with in Photoshop. You had to agree to the dialogue before you could use Photoshop. I mean, it was, again, like, come on, Adobe. So I was like, just fed the text of it to ChatGPT. And I said, users are going to be faced with this dialogue before they can continue on using Photoshop to get their work done. What concerns might they have? And then I pasted in the text. It just hit it out of the park. I mean, like, come on, like Adobe could have avoided, becoming a viral punching bag on the internet for a couple of days if they had just done this. And like, yeah, people are going to be unhappy because you're basically, the way a user would read it, you have complete ownership of all their content. That's the way it read.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yep.
And so like, that's the kind of thing where, you can get that, it's that second pair of eyes, and it's like Dear Abby, like it's not going to tell you anything that anyone wouldn't tell you, but you can get it, just by typing into this box.
I do find that ChatGPT gets lazy. We've talked about this on another episode, Eric and I, where
I don't want to, Justin.
I took data out of, actually, this happens to be another Adigy story. This isn't Adigy day, but I took data out of Adigy and I wanted to organize it by date, right? Because I was looking for the last online, and Excel organizes when you have the month in place in alphabetical order, even though the cell is set to a date, it still does April, August, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I took that data, I uploaded it to ChatGPT. I said, reorganize this table, organized by column I, known as date. And it said, sure. And it did it. Cool. Done. I had to do another run for a second client. And I said, do it again. And it was like, I can't do that. And I was like, why not? You just did it 4.5 seconds ago. And so I was like, all right, maybe the servers are overloaded. I waited a while. I sent up it said, I can't do this. Then I heard about on TikTok, and I said this to you at Aces, I heard about the yeah, bro move, or like the come on, bro move. Yeah. And so it said, I can't do that. And I wrote, come on, bro. And it actually did it for me. And I'm like, why am I fighting with a computer? Like, I understand that as my job as an IT professional, as an MSP, like I'm fighting with users about their computer. Now I'm fighting with users and their computers independently of one another.
An opportunity to charge more.
Fast pass my data because now ChatGPT is owned by Disney. But so okay, so what is something that people should be doing? Like, as an MSP owner, what is something that somebody should be using? Let's stick with the chatbots because the imagery ones are a whole nother game. Yeah, what is something that somebody should be using as an MSP owner, should be using the chatbots for to help them move the needle?
I think one of the things is kind of what we just said, actually, which is, making sure your communications are the way you want them to sound, the way you want them to sound. And so that can be, that can be correctness. That can be tone. There's a lot of things that can be done well there. There's a lot of types of corporate business communications, which are just sort of forms, right? So if you're pitching a new client, right? You've probably got essentially boilerplate that you use every time. Am I right?
Yeah.
So, but what if you're doing something along those lines and you don't already have the boilerplate? That's the kind of thing you can ask ChatGPT or one of the other chatbots for, because this isn't creative writing. This is, everyone expects to get the same sort of thing every time. And so that's a good use for that. The other kind of thing that I do like, is basically using it to run stuff by run stuff by the general consensus. Mm-hmm. Again, we're thinking about, hiring another employee. We're thinking about moving location. just what should I think about? And then push on those kinds of things. Oh, right. I didn't think about, we have this long-term, it said something about, your long-term contract for, networking services in this location, something like that. So, okay, right. Tell me more about that. Focus in on that kind of thing. Is there, are there ways to get out of these contracts, the long-term contracts that I've got? So it's not that ChatGPT is an expert, because it's not, but a whole lot of what everyone has never run into before, other people have, and therefore the chatbots know about.
Yeah, but this gets me into the argument that the AIs are not actually AI the way we would think of an AI.
They're not.
Growing up and watching sci-fi movies in the 80s and 90s. Because it's not doing anything for me, right? It's not my ChatGPT isn't waking me up in the morning and getting my Starbucks and reminding me what I have to do today or do whatever. Like, it's literally
purely
reactive.
Yes,
it's purely reactive, right? Which, as every MSP owner knows, if you don't have the word proactive in the list of services you offer, are you an MSP? But like, that's my thing. It's still reactive, which is why I don't even like the idea of it being called AI, just because of that. Because like,
But think about it. I mean, the AIs that we grew up with. I mean, the Star Trek computer is pretty much like this, right? The Star Trek computer, you had to ask it stuff, and it told you stuff, and then you had to ask follow-ups, and that's pretty much what we've got now. And so that's why I keep harping on the fact that you gotta keep pushing. So you don't ask it one thing and think you're done, because you're not. So another story here. My wife's aunt's a professional cookbook author. She's been writing cookbooks for 30, 40 years. And it wasn't even all that, didn't take all that long by the time, after Google kicks in, where she said she started having problems because she'd come up with this idea for a new recipe. Like, this is what she did. She was a professional. She innovated. She came up with new concepts, and she would type in, some stuff about the recipe into Google and find out that 5 people had already made it before and published the recipes. There's nothing new under the sun. Yeah. And so the chatbots have been trained on all that stuff. And so that's why I say you're not going to get, like the world's best marketing expert to answer your question, but you are going to get the world's most average marketing expert to answer your questions in the most average way possible, which is really useful. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's really useful, because that's the stuff that, it's not that you might not know it, but you're not thinking about it. It's going to tell you something you're not thinking about.
If there's anything, any word that you can use to describe this podcast, it's average.
The completely average podcast.
So I mean, I'm a professional writer, right? That's what I do. But one of my favorite uses of the chatbots is like a thesaurus on radioactive steroids, because there's times I'm like, there's a word that means exactly what I mean it to mean. I want it to mean, and it's right there. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it. Tell me, blah, 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 blah. Give me 10 words and their definitions that mean something along these lines, and it does. And like, yeah, that's the one. It doesn't tell me anything I didn't know. I just couldn't think of it, and I don't want to spend an hour fighting.
Do you ever run the TCN articles through ChatGPT and say, can you make this better, or how can I make this better?
I have, and I actually, it always comes up with something, don't get me wrong.
How can that be? You're amazing, Adam.
It's not that I disagree with it. It's more that it's usually making suggestions which are not appropriate in one way or another. So like, well, yes, I did not say that intentionally, because that's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down in this amount of space. I didn't mention this other thing because it's a little bit too far off the main topic that I'm discussing. So that's like me as a professional, like, yes, I'm aware of those issues now that you've brought them up, but you're still wrong.
But do you think that it's doing that because you're not giving it enough parameters, or is it because you as a professional understand how to put stuff on the cutting room floor?
Both. Usually those like make it better things. if I knew how if I could give it more parameters because I knew what was wrong with my article, then I would. Right. But I've written what I think is a good article. So all I can do is say, what am I missing, or what, make it better or whatever. And then I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But
I mean, in that situation,
now, to be fair, sorry, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, in that situation, it would almost be like if you had writer's block. You had an idea, you had a start to the article, and you said, ChatGPT, this is what I've got. This is what I want. This is the audience. Give me some ideas on where to go with this.
Yeah.
That would be a useful use.
And actually, for me, from more what that would be is like, give me an introduction. Like sometimes the first sentence or two of an article is the hardest because you gotta, how do I get into this? Like once I'm in the technical stuff, I'm good. But I've been writing for 34 years. I have written I've written literally tens of thousands of article in, first sentences. And let me tell you, it's not, you get into the same groove. So that's what I wanted to say is that I don't use, any of the chatbots in that way, but I am very fond of, I'm a little offended that I need it, but Grammarly. I love Grammarly because it finds typos and doubled words and, in missing punctuation and stuff like that stuff. And I'm mostly like, fix it. And it's got some quirks that I just hate. Like it does not want to ever see the words actually, own, or both. I'm like, perfectly good word. Leave it alone.
The amount of times Grammarly has been like, do you want to sound more confident? I'm like, no, I'm fine where I am in life. Leave me alone. Stop adjusting. I know what I'm saying here,
Yeah, right. I meant just. I meant to say just.
Grammarly does this to me all the time where I start, if I want to write like, just wanted to check in, it always wants to change it to, I just wanted to check in.
Yeah, it cannot handle fragments.
I just called it Crapperly. Grammarly doesn't know. Sorry. They're not a sponsor. Grammarly doesn't understand my inflection of the way I talk or anything like that. Where I think ChatGPT has finally caught up to that and learned it. So let's take an Apple angle for a second, and I want to talk just briefly about this because Grammarly basically got Sherlocked, which is an Apple term for apps that existed that Apple said, nope, we're going to make it ourselves. They basically Sherlocked Grammarly with the new writing notes in Apple Intelligence, which is their version of AI. I feel like there's a copyright problem there. Do we feel that a company like, because OpenAI was its own thing, and granted, Microsoft bought it, right? Now Google has Gemini, and I haven't heard a lot about that. Do we feel like Apple and their AI, which we all know comes from the lady in the box who's dumber than bricks. She's like a D+ student under the bleachers level. You know how many times I tell her to turn on my lights and she goes, the refrigerator's over there.
Yeah.
That was a visual I did not need, Justin.
Oh, I'm sorry, mister. I'm going to send you text messages of Iron Man robot pirates in the middle of an interview. All the image, if you want, I'm going to post these pictures on facebook.com/group/all things MSP when this episode comes out. So you have a reference point. So if you're listening, pull over and head over to the group. Do we think that a company like Apple is going to be able to make the AI, like their new tool, writing notes, right?
Writing tools,
writing tools. I don't know how much you've played with it yet. Do we think that it's going to be better? Do we think it's going to be the same stuff? Do we think it's going to
So it's obviously too early to know. But one of the things that is usually true when Apple Sherlocks something is that what Apple has done is like the base level of the feature, and usually the third party apps that are being whacked on by this have significantly more features. And so what usually happens is that Apple sort of takes the low end of the market away, and the company then starts to focus on the higher end stuff. where you're like, oh yes, I will pay more for that. So what Grammarly has done, for instance, Grammarly's not cheap. It's $150 a year, or something, $130 a year, something like that. And but they've been going pretty hard on AI. And so you can in fact do things like, select a paragraph and, and say, improve this or whatever. And so I'm going to go on a limb and say that Grammarly will probably be a little bit better than Apple stuff, particularly early on. And that's partly because I believe the Apple tools will be, those will try to be running locally. So they won't be it'll be a small language model rather than a large language model, in terms of that. And so we just don't know, whether Apple's tools will suffer at all from being shoehorned into the local machine in certain situations. And obviously they can go out to private cloud compute. They're Apple's, it's actually super fascinating what they've done there with, Apple Silicon servers and blah, 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 blah. But when they need more power, they can go out to that. But it's not clear to me that they're going to be as good. A lot of what goes on with AIs is tuning. And so the other thing that's going to be interesting actually is, will improvements in the AI quality responses come only with operating system upgrades? Or will private cloud compute somehow provide those, throughout, as Apple tweaks the parameters so that they get better and better over time? I just don't know. Yeah,
it's too early to tell. For those who don't know, we're recording this like the week of WWDC. I think this was announced Monday.
4 days ago. Yeah, 4 days ago. Yeah, no one's got a chance to play much.
And it's actually not even technically, Apple Intelligence isn't even released in the beta that you can download today. It won't be released. The Apple Intelligence part isn't being released until September, I think, or something like that.
It's not going to be released until September to people, but there'll be betas much earlier. Right now, we're just in developer betas, and there'll be public betas probably in July. My suspicion is it'll start popping up in July for those people. But even still, a lot of the Apple Intelligence is this big umbrella term with all of these different features, and those features Apple was very clear are going to be rolling out over the course of the next year. So we're not going to see some of these features until like March or April of next year. We don't know which ones, but it's not going to be dropped in September completely.
Right. Well, Adam, thank you so much for being here, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you and your Penguin. I love you, dude. Last words for anyone?
I guess the only thing I would say is, I was talking earlier about how, you shouldn't trust what professional writers say about AI. And that's because they are the experts. And so whenever they evaluate AI compared to what they're doing, it sucks. And so they haven't stepped back and said, well, what if I was lousy at this task? Would it help me? And that's really where I think people need to go, is like stuff where you're like, I could use help here.
And one of the best things I think I've ever heard out of all of this AI stuff, by the way, is how you describe that things like ChatGPT are a C+ student, and that's how you should treat it. Because that simple statement means so much in terms of how you should approach AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I can't get the image of Siri being a D+ student.
No, we're not doing that one again.
Under the bleachers, that's the part that really killed me.
It was the bleachers that did it. Man!
For the audience, I promise we'll do better next time.
Send it to an art bot, man. Send it to an art bot.
I'm having an art bot right now. This could be like the bump at the end. I just had ChatGPT tell me if it knew who you were, Adam. And it did. And we'll put this so that way everyone else can see it, but I'm going to text both of you guys right now.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. I don't want to say your iCloud over the air, but
there is another Adam Engst. So there could be some details
there.
It
said a well-known technology. It said well-known technology. Adam C. Engst is a well-known technology writer and publisher, primarily recognized for his contributions to the Apple community. He's published TidBits, one of the oldest and most respected internet-based newsletters,
Thank you, ChatGPT.
But you figured out. It also said that you spoke at Aces. No, it didn't. But I said, make me a picture of Adam in a cartoon fashion as a pirate. And here, you guys can take a look at your phones real quick. And there you go. So the reaction, it's pretty good. I mean, it's before your haircut.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure it quite competes with my action figure, though. So, I do actually have an action figure.
Very nice.
That's another story for another time.
With the little, the Internet Starter Kit book, my Eudora book,
and the O'Reilly books. Well, Adam, thanks so much for being here, man. Much appreciated. You know I love you. Always a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. Anyone wants to find my stuff, tcn.tidbits.com.
That's where it's at. Do subscribe. You can get some good content there. And then don't make videos out of it. That's my thing. But you should take the content and put it on your website and help make you look better in the Apple world. Eric, any final words before we say goodbye to the ladies and gentlemen at home?
I think I will just say that that's an important point, right? Especially amongst the MSPs who are doing not primarily Apple. When you look at the executives or the owners of a company, of a client that you're serving, a lot of them use Apple. A lot of them use Mac. Yeah. So you cannot ignore that ecosystem in what you provide as an offering, because if you're managing their IT, it means you're managing all of their IT. Otherwise, you're leaving a spot for somebody else to come in and take that business away. So
the opposite of that is if you're doing Apple consulting, there's always that bookkeeper who's got a PC who goes, Excel is different. Yeah, learn how to manage that PC. So it's just tit for tat, my friend. Well, this has been a great episode. That's Eric. I'm Justin. Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also follow us on Facebook, but better yet, go ahead and join the Facebook group. You can also follow us on Instagram if that's your thing. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at All Things MSP to catch us in all of our video glory. And last but certainly not least, if LinkedIn is your thing, you can follow us there as well. And a special thank you to our premier sponsors, SuperOps, MoveBot, Gozinta, EasyDmark, and Comtech. And we also want to thank our vendor sponsors. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production.